Hey, what's up? This is Sully from Godsmack. Strap on those boots, baby, because you are now in the trenches of the war room with the one and only Mistress Carrie right here on the Mistress Carrie podcast.
What's up? This is Joe Rogan, and you're listening to Mistress Carrie.
Her hair so lovely, pretty eyes.
Hey, this is Brent from Shinedown, and you're listening to Mistress Carrie. Hey, Carrie, go put your bra on, girl.
Hey, this is Steven Tyler, and you be listening to the baddest bitch in Boston, Mistress Carrie.
What's up? This is Aaron from Stain, and you're listening to Mistress Carrie.
Hi, everybody. This is Dave Grohl from the Foo Fighters, and you're listening to the one, the only Mistress Carrie.
Hey, this is David from the band Disturbed, and you're listening to the baddest bitch in Boston, Mistress Carrie.
Hi, Bruce Dickinson here from Iron Maiden. Yes, indeed, Miss Whiplash herself, Mistress Carrie, is here to unchain your brain.
Hi, this is Flea from the Red Hot Chili Peppers. You're listening to Mistress Carrie.
This is Dennis Leary. You are listening to my favorite, Mistress Carrie.
Hey, this is Corey from Stone Sour, and you have the privilege of listening to Mistress Carrie. Oh, God. Oh, yeah.
Hey, it's Mistress Carrie, reporting for duty from MCHQ for a bonus episode of the Mistress Carrie podcast. And before we get to my guest, Duff McKagan from Guns N' Roses, I want to remind you about the Mistress Carrie Grunge Brunch that's happening Saturday, November 16th at City Winery, Boston. Day drinking, charcuterie, and the unplugged set from Alice in Chains brought to life by Rotten Apple, the premier Alice in Chains tribute band. Go to the concert calendar at mistresscarrie.com and get your tickets before they're gone. The Mistress Carrie Grunge Brunch at City Winery, Boston, Saturday, November 16th with Rotten Apple. And while you're on the concert calendar, November 4th, Duff McKagan is kicking off his Lighthouse solo tour at the Paradise Rock Club in Boston. The tour is in support of his latest solo album, Lighthouse, that features guest appearances by his fellow Guns N' Roses member Slash, Jerry Cantrell from Alice in Chains, and Iggy Pop. Duff checked in on the show in the middle of my favorite day of the year, Halloween, to talk candy, his new solo album, the World Series, Fenway Park, and so much more. So allow me to introduce you to Duff McKagan from Guns N' Roses. Duff, happy Halloween!
I know. Our kids are grown now. So we just Susan and I just get kind of excited, for the early shift of Halloween, the little kids.
Do you give out full-size candy bars? I would like to think Duff McKagan gives out full-size candy bars.
We've done it all. We lived in a house for a while, for about 10 years in LA, that was on the street that was the street that everybody came to for Halloween. And everybody did up their houses. You had to do it. And they shut down our street and the whole thing. But the last year there we lived there, 1,000 kids came. So you can't give out 1,000. I mean, you could.
You could, but
I don't know how many trips to the grocery store that is. But, we would go and get 2 shopping carts full of candy.
Oh, my God.
For that house, just to stay open till 7:30.
You got to sell a few more 1,000 copies of Lighthouse to be able to afford that grocery bill.
It's just too much to bring home. That's what it is. That and it's super expensive. So we give out good candy. Susan and I, we go to the store. We're like, yeah, let's get this, because we're going to end up eating some of it.
Yeah, you guys seem like you give out good candy.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate you checking in on the show on what is my favorite day of the entire year. And I also know that you purposefully chose to kick off the Lighthouse tour in Boston because you wanted to see me first.
Well, absolutely. I good friends with Bill Burr. He pushed me to do that. And actually, back in the day, Guns, we broke first. In America, we had broken in the UK and Japan. But America was a hard nut to crack. And you guys played us in Boston. And we broke in Boston before any other place in the U.S.
Last time you played the Paradise, you and I sat backstage and talked about that, because I don't know if a lot of people realize that Guns is such a famous L.A. band that it was us East Coasters that helped a lot.
For the U.S., no doubt. Then it spread to New York. So it was like this, okay, when the cops on the street in New York, recognize you, say your name, okay, well, something must be happening.
In a good way that the cops say your name, because you guys
totally.
were a little notorious in the beginning.
Yeah, it was like, totally. We're like, okay, good. We have an inn, thank goodness with the cops here.
And the Paradise is a legendary Boston venue. And I love the fact that when you come to town, that's where you want to play.
Yeah.
Everybody's played there.
Yeah, of course. And so this Lighthouse tour, we just did Europe. It was so fantastic, and especially Lighthouse, the record. I made the Tenderness record in 2019 with Shooter Jennings and his band. And we went out and toured it with his band. But it was all kind of like back to back to back. And we went out and did it. I made Lighthouse during the shutdown. So it was just myself and my producer, Martin Fabier. We'd get players to come in here and there, but it was COVID, so it was like, okay. It was difficult. So you're done with the songs, like, it's just Martin and I. Are these good? Like people going to dig it? And so 11 months later, I played my first show on it. It was Dublin, and the room's packed, and people are singing the songs, and it just happened at Glasgow and Manchester and London. We had sellouts, and it was super. It's really, as a musician, it's very rewarding for that to happen. So starting in Boston, a place that's familiar to me, kind of like a second home. It really looks like Seattle too, like they're both on the water, kind of same vibe.
We're just a little more angry than you nice people in Seattle. We're a little more ornery.
Well, the sports radio is for sure. Oh my goodness. Yeah.
You and Jerry Cantrell guested on each other's solo albums. Speaking of sports, whenever I have him on the show, we always talk sports. And, when you grow up in Boston, when you grow up in a sports town, you're so passionate about where you come from.
Yeah.
I mean, last night I took joy in watching the Dodgers beat the Yankees because I hate the Yankees so much.
I'm kind of with you. I mean, the Yankees always destroy the Mariners, and they always have the biggest payroll, all that stuff. But both these teams both have the biggest payroll.
Yeah.
So, but I found myself rooting for the Dodgers as well, just because of the same reason for you, as you.
Speaking of the Sox, I asked Slash this when I had him on the show recently. The last time you were in Boston with Guns, you played Fenway.
Yeah.
And you played Slither. And I asked Slash about this moment because I was in the crowd getting soaked by the torrential downpour. Did you notice that it started pouring when Axl got to the chorus, Here Comes the Water? Did you notice? Because Slash didn't notice. And we were all in the crowd going, are these guys summoning some kind of otherworldly power? What is going on? The fact that you guys,
Yes, you are correct.
So the fact that you and Slash both didn't make the lyrical connection with the weather while the rest of us thought that Guns N' Roses all of a sudden had this nature power like an X-Men or something. Like, we're all looking at each other going, is this really happening right now?
Yeah, I think from stage, because we played in rain a ton, that was biblical in Boston. That was something else. But we've done that like in South America. They get like big, huge rain. And we've played in the rain all over the world. And so what I think that instead of thinking where the lyrical content, where the rain starts, we're thinking, are people going to be safe?
Right.
Number one, is this all good? You're looking around. Are we gonna short out? Are we gonna have a show? So we're thinking completely different things. And Slash is probably not thinking anything. He's so into his guitar playing. He's on another planet when we play those shows. And it's watching him, it is a beautiful thing. He doesn't know what's going on around him.
I haven't been that wet at a concert since Woodstock 94. I was soaked to the bone, but it was awesome.
People stayed, and it really, I mean, if you didn't go to that gig at Fenway, you don't know, but it just rained I'm sure that was a freak rain for Boston, right?
It was crazy. Yeah, it was just streets flooded. It just got to the point where we were all just like, whatever. We were just dancing in the rain. We had such a blast. But there was that awkward moment, like, is this rain part of the special effects of the show? Because it just got turned on in the middle of that song. So I had to ask you about it.
Yeah, and I got to do a tour of Fenway that day of the show.
It's like being in a movie set, isn't it?
Isn't it? Yeah, it's crazy because you've seen it so much, and it's in movies. And I went to a Mariners game, a Red Sox Mariners, I think when Velvet Revolver played Boston 2004 or 5, and the Mariners happened to be in town, and I think we were playing across the street or something. And I went to and being at Fenway is super cool. And you look at the Green Monster and like, okay, it's really not that far out. You see it on TV. It's kind of right there, isn't it?
It's just really tall, so it's imposing. Yeah.
Yeah, it's imposing. But all of that stuff, Fenway, playing the baseball parks we got to play on the last 8 years is really cool.
I'm fascinated with you putting this solo album together and then calling your guitarist in Guns N' Roses to be on your solo record. Do you guys work differently when you're working on a solo project than when you're working with gun stuff? Is the workflow different?
Not really. I think that song in particular, Hope, with Slash, and the drummer was Abe Laborio, who plays with Paul McCartney. Amazing musician.
He better be if he's playing drums for McCartney.
Right. And so we did that song in 1996, and I had a record that was coming out. I made it I had a home studio. It was a good home studio. In 1996, I made this record called Beautiful Disease. I'd done the interviews like we're doing now. I'd done, artwork was done, there was packaging was done. And then Geffen got bought by the Omni Group, who bought everybody. The evil big, empire. My record got shelved. And I'm like, can I get my record and it's my record. Nope. It's so they held on to that record until 2020. So it was during COVID. I get these masters back 24 years later. And we're listening, I have this material for the Lighthouse record. And I'm thinking of lyrically how this, I've written books, and I've written columns forever, and I think, and I read a lot of books, and I think of a record as a whole album, and what's the peaks and valleys of this story? And Hope in the middle of this record, the subject matter of Hope, really works. So let's take this song from 24 years ago and see if it fits on this. And it did. And so I played it for Slash. I sent it to Slash. Of course, I checked with him. He goes, man, I don't even remember doing this. I'm like, I know. It was a long time ago. And it was kind of in a period of his life when he might not remember doing that.
These things happen.
They do happen. Yeah. But it's a beautiful piece of guitar work by Slash on that song for sure. And then, getting Jerry Cantrell and I, we share demos back and forth with each other. We trust each other. It's not going to go anywhere else. Trust each other's opinions. Like, hey, what do you think of this, bridge, or whatever we might talk about. And I sent him the song, Just Don't Know. And he was like, man, you want me to play on this? He really loved the song. And he did this beautiful solo on it and sang this backups. And, have Jerry's voice on anything is amazing, and his guitar. So that was, it's just my friends, and the way we work, Slash and I work together, it doesn't really change at all if we play on each other's stuff or play together. He and I played on a Fear record like 2 years ago. We do things like that together, and Ozzy's Ordinary Man record, the song Ordinary Man. So, man, as long as you're up for playing, I mean, I respect Slash, I respect Jerry. So when they come up with something, I'm like, that's the right thing, because it's Jerry or Slash coming up with it.
Well, I really appreciate you spending some time with me on my favorite day of the year.
Yeah.
And I will take credit on the radio for you starting the Lighthouse tour in my hometown for me, even though I know it's not true.
Oh, no, totally true.
Duff, it was so good to see you. Happy Halloween. And we'll see you November 4th at the Paradise.
Thanks, Carrie. Thank you.
See you later.
Bye-bye.
There he is, Duff McKagan from Guns N' Roses. His new album, Lighthouse, is available everywhere. And you can see him November 4th, kicking off the Lighthouse tour in North America at the Paradise Rock Club in Boston. You'll find the link to get tickets in the show notes of this episode. You'll also find the link to this episode's corresponding playlist that features Duff's music and the artists and songs that we referenced in the interview. Plus, you'll find all of Duff's links, all the Guns N' Roses links, and of course, all the Mistress Carrie links. If you like what you heard, don't forget to like, follow, and share the Mistress Carrie podcast. New full-length episodes come out every Wednesday. This week, episode 230 features Sendog from Cypress Hill and Power Flow. But you never know when we're going to release a bonus episode. And you get the sit rep. Every weekday, I give you all your rock news, music headlines, and entertainment updates in about 5 minutes. Join me live every Tuesday night at 8:30 Eastern for my weekly streaming video show, Cocktails in the War Room. You can watch on my official Facebook, Instagram, Twitch, and YouTube channel. And you can always find me on the radio. Get the details on all of that and more at mistresscarrie.com. The Mistress Carrie Podcast, a proud member of the Pantheon Podcast Network.